What happens when the player targeted by resentment inside the WNBA rises beyond the league itself? Caitlin Clark has just secured the most high-profile broadcasting role women's Carmelo Anthony and Tracy McGrady. That move sends a clear message. Clark's influence now reaches far past internal league drama and into the global basketball spotlight. While some veterans once dismissed her impact and pushed back against the wave of new fans she attracted, those same voices are now pressuring owners with unrealistic demands that threaten to stall the league's hard-earned momentum. Clark keeps moving forward, setting the pace and redefining the ceiling. Are you ready for her NBC debut? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark because she's got a new job. Caitlin Clark has landed herself a new, very high-profile position. Caitlin Clark lands new role in basketball during Indiana Fever off-season.
NBC Sports just set a new benchmark by welcoming Caitlin Clark into its Basketball Night in America pregame show, marking a first-of-its-kind moment as she becomes the only active WNBA player to step into this elite broadcast role. She joins an iconic panel featuring Carmelo Anthony, Tracy McGrady, and Vince Carter, with Maria Taylor guiding a program that reaches millions of NBA fans every week. Clark's historic debut is scheduled for February 1st. Setting the stage ahead of the Lakers-Knicks showdown at Madison Square Garden, and it signals a major shift in how women's basketball talent is recognized on the sport's biggest platforms.
It was announced on Tuesday that Caitlin Clark will join NBC Sports to serve as a special contributor for its new Basketball Night in America program. Caitlin Clark will make her debut as a TV analyst on February 1st, preceding the Lakers versus Knicks game at Madison Square Garden, per a release from NBC.
The timing couldn't be clearer about Caitlin Clark's accelerating pull in the basketball world, as veteran WNBA players wrestle with tense and uncertain labor talks. Clark secures the most sought-after media seat in the sport. NBC didn't choose her by accident. They chose her because she consistently delivers audiences at a scale others simply don't. Ironically, those viewers are the very new fans some veterans spent the season pushing away. While the network leaned in and recognized their value, NBC understands Clark's appeal stretches far beyond traditional basketball circles, which is why she's locked into two major Sunday night appearances, debuting in February and returning March 29th for Knicks vs. Thunder, both in primetime windows that draw far more eyes than standard WNBA coverage. This is a calculated move by a network known for bold decisions, one that reinforces Clark's rare ability to connect with audiences other analysts can't, and NBC has never been afraid to bet on star power when they see it.
Wow. So this would be akin to, they have Sunday Night Football, and it starts with a pregame show called Football Night in America. I didn't know they were creating Basketball Night in America, but here we are. It will be Caitlin Clark's first time in an analyst-type role on TV.
Her broadcasting paycheck likely outpaces what many full WNBA rosters earn combined, and that reality puts Clark's true market value on full display. While segments of the league's old guard push for steep, unrealistic pay demands through prolonged union talks, Clark is stacking elite opportunities the straightforward way through performance, professionalism, and undeniable appeal. Instead of clashing with momentum, she aligns herself with the game's biggest names and helps elevate the entire conversation around basketball. NBC's move undercuts the narrative some veterans have tried to sell for the past 2 seasons, especially after repeated attempts to downplay Clark's influence, challenge her spotlight, and dismiss the fans she attracted. Now the contrast is impossible to ignore. Clark is seated beside Hall of Fame legends on primetime television, while others resort to symbolic protests outside league offices, highlighting just how wide the gap has become.
Caitlin Clark joins Michael Jordan as a splashy acquisition for NBC and NBA coverage. Despite his limited role, simply having Jordan as part of the coverage created buzz. NBC is surely hoping Caitlin Clark's involvement will do the same. Of course, Caitlin Clark is expected to offer unique insights in assuming the analyst role for the first time, and her basketball IQ cannot be questioned. So the transition will be a seamless one for the Indiana Fever's star point guard.
Clark's new stage delivers audiences that completely eclipse typical WNBA viewership, with Sunday Night Basketball pulling in millions while many league games struggle to reach a fraction of that reach, instantly placing her in front of mainstream sports fans who rarely tune into women's basketball. The same veterans who dismissed those potential supporters now have a front-row seat as Clark connects with them on national television, highlighting a sharp contrast in approach. She moves with composure, building credibility alongside media leaders and basketball legends, while others lean on public theatrics and heated language that undercuts their message. Clark lifts the sport through excellence, preparation and presence, not internal friction. And her NBC role symbolizes exactly what long-standing gatekeepers feared: influence that can't be limited, managed, or ignored. She no longer needs validation from within the league, and the effort to shrink her impact has only amplified it, pushing her from WNBA debates straight into the center of NBA conversations.
But you see, this is going to be the flagship NBC basketball show. Just like Sunday Night Football, you've got, Sunday Night Basketball. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. Needle mover. There you go. Let the haters hate, I guess.
NBC's partnership with Caitlin Clark resets the ceiling for what's possible in women's basketball, proving that elite talent paired with professionalism opens doors no internal politics can shut. While some veterans remain locked in labor battles that cast uncertainty over future seasons, Clark continues to lock in high-level opportunities that expand her reach regardless of league turbulence. She rises above internal friction through performance and presence, building her profile alongside established basketball icons instead of clashing with the league's progress. The broader basketball world sees her adding value to NBA coverage, while others divert energy into off-court conflicts and competing ventures that dilute momentum. Clark's path reflects real leadership-focused, forward-looking, and inclusive, prioritizing growth that lifts the entire sport rather than approaches that divide, distract, and ultimately hold it back.
I'm really excited to be part of Basketball Night in America crew this season, said Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is one of the most captivating players and dynamic scorers in basketball, said Sam Flood, executive producer of NBC Sports. We're excited to have Caitlin join Hall of Famers Melo, Vince, Tracy, and Reggie in New York for the launch of Sunday Night Basketball.
The WNBA Players Association has delivered a stunningly tone-deaf negotiating stance. As veteran players who spent the last 2 years downplaying Caitlin Clark's role in Rising League, revenue now turn around and demand massive pay increases built on that very growth. The union is pushing for a $10.5 million team salary cap and $2.5 million maximum individual salaries figures completely detached from the league's current financial reality. Ownership countered with a proposal grounded in sustainability, offering players 70% of net revenue, along with meaningful raises across the board, lifting the average salary well beyond the current roughly $120,000, and reportedly pushing top salaries past the $1 million mark, more than quadrupling today's ceiling. That deal would have benefited rookies and veterans alike, yet the union rejected it outright and instead demanded 30% of gross revenue, insisting on being paid before expenses like arenas, travel, marketing, and day-to-day operations are covered. The result is a negotiation strategy that ignores basic economics and risks, undermining the league's long-term stability.
Our CBA is so dumb right now that it's heading towards the lockout. So
no progress.
No,
just nothing.
Honestly, nothing. We get weekly emails from the PA side of things, and it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Here's where the situation crosses into pure absurdity. The same players who spent 2 full seasons mocking and rejecting new fans are now anchoring their salary demands to revenue those fans created. They gave interview after interview complaining about so-called bandwagon viewers who showed up to watch Caitlin Clark, posturing as gatekeepers guarding the sport from casual interest. only to turn around and demand massive paydays funded by the very audience they openly dismissed. The optics only get worse when the union stages sidewalk protests outside league offices with inflatable props and chant-driven theatrics, presenting luxury pay negotiations as if they were basic survival disputes. At the same time, Clark quietly locks in elite broadcasting roles and handles national media with polish and purpose, building value instead of burning goodwill. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One path projects leadership, credibility, and long-term vision, while the other leans on spectacle and contradiction, exposing just how badly this strategy has misfired.
Some of the rhetoric I've heard from their side has been a little bit troublesome. You know, like when a deal is presented, that's over $1 million, max salary and revenue share, it's called a slap in the face. Like, use different words. And I'm worried that the players, might be getting to a point where they might be losing some of the support from the public. The players just need to be a little bit more careful with how they're articulating things, because if you're working whatever job, a max salary of 1.2 million, average salary of 500,000. If you don't think it's fair, that's fine, but don't call it a slap in the face.
Veteran players appear to be intentionally dragging out negotiations, betting that fan pressure will force concessions as anticipation builds for the 2026 season and Caitlin Clark's highly anticipated second year after a historic rookie run. Fans committed their money and attention, expecting to see her continue rewriting the record books. Yet a small group of entrenched voices is now willing to jeopardize an entire season over compensation demands detached from financial reality. The strategy exposes a growing disconnect, as public theatrics and heated press moments replace serious, solution-driven bargaining. Social media amplifies the problem, showcasing protest imagery and sweeping demands that overlook how professional leagues actually function. The WNBA isn't a limitless revenue machine. It's a business that must balance growth with sustainability, and ignoring that truth risks long-term damage. Instead of strengthening the league's credibility, this approach undercuts it, creating unnecessary instability and casting women's basketball in an avoidable, unprofessional light.
God gave you a person, and now you're rejecting it. Y'all should be like Caesar. I appreciate you, Caitlin. Thank you. I can eat a little bit better. She got paid this. She get a signature shoe. Hey, I'm a 2-time MVP. I'm a champion. The fact that there's this much animosity about the person that's feeding you. And I'm going to say it just like she's feeding y'all.
Yes.
Doors that y'all didn't do. So to be honest, shut up. Because y'all couldn't do it. Just accept it and benefit. Be happy.
These are the very same players who spent seasons fouling Caitlin Clark, aggressively on the court and complaining about the media attention she earned, accusing referees of favoritism while trying to suppress her rise. After 2 years of attempting to physically and culturally intimidate her, they now demand massive salary increases funded by the revenue Clark herself generated through record-breaking performance and a skyrocketing fan base. Social media fans aren't letting it slide. Comment sections light up with reminders of how these veterans disparaged casual supporters, only to now demand the money those same audiences brought in. Their negotiation stance exposes a total disconnect from financial reality. They're pushing for NBA-level salaries in arenas that hold fewer than 10,000, with maximum contracts exceeding entire franchises' revenues. Inflated egos blind them to basic economics, and what they claim as protecting the league risks destabilizing it entirely. Meanwhile, Clark continues building her influence and legacy through undeniable talent, professionalism, and strategic opportunities, showing the stark contrast between building value and clinging to outdated power.
When she announced she was going pro, I immediately ran over to Lynn Dunn and said, "We have Elvis." She's like, "What?" I said, "There's been a lot of singers in music. There's only one Elvis. This is Elvis." And I knew, I've been in sports for 40 years. I knew this was something special. There's moving the needle. She's the needle. And I say it, there's been no one like her in all of teams.
The real controversy behind these stalled CBA talks goes far beyond inflated salary demands. Breanna Stewart, serving as a vice president of the WNBA, simultaneously co-founded and owns Unrivaled, a competing professional basketball league. Profiting from a business directly at odds with the WNBA's growth, talent pool, and sponsorship opportunities. Nafisa Collier occupies the same dual role, negotiating on behalf of players while also owning a rival league, designed to siphon revenue and attention from the organization she represents. Stewart has openly admitted the strain of juggling these conflicting responsibilities, struggling to reconcile her union duties with the financial upside of WNBA setbacks. Collier faces the identical dilemma, demanding higher salaries at the bargaining table while privately benefiting if league performance falters. These positions create glaring conflicts of interest that would be prohibited in virtually any other professional sector, highlighting a structural problem at the heart of these negotiations.
Sophie Cunningham said in a podcast previously, she sees the conflict of interest between Nafisa Collier, Breanna Stewart, and the WNBA. She sees the conflict of interest. So what are you doing to circumvent that conflict and actually get some of the real facts, some of the real truths that could be taking place?
Unrivaled positions itself as a direct competitor to the WNBA on every front, targeting players during the offseason with lucrative contracts, courting the same corporate sponsors, and vying for media coverage and fan attention in months when women's basketball typically turns overseas. Stewart and Collier built this rival enterprise, while serving as elected representatives of the very players whose careers depend on a thriving WNBA, creating an obvious and troubling conflict of interest. This dual role sheds light on why negotiations appear designed to stall. Both benefit far more from league instability than from sustainable growth that would lift all players. A successful CBA boosting salaries and improving conditions would make unrivaled less appealing to recruits, while a failed negotiation threatening the 2026 season opens the door for their league to poach frustrated talent. Simply put, they profit from the chaos their own demands and protest tactics generate, undermining the league they are supposed to serve.
Nafisa Collier, during the Owls game, I believe she's still on the Lunar Owls, she talked to the broadcast about Unrivaled and gloated about what we're doing over here at Unrivaled. Oh yeah, sustainability. Oh really now? Okay. We have a roasting session on our hands, folks. And I didn't do the roasting, but Nafisa Collier, she's getting dragged through the mud with what she said yesterday. She's getting crushed on live.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to grow her brand in ways that actively support and elevate women's basketball. Her NBC broadcasting deal brings fresh audiences to the sport, amplifying visibility without undermining league interests, and aligns her with top media platforms rather than competing against the WNBA itself. Clark exemplifies how elite players can expand influence while strengthening the foundation that benefits everyone, offering a clear model of leadership that contrasts sharply with the self-serving tactics of veteran union officials. Fans immediately notice the hypocrisy, flooding social media with criticism of Stewart and Collier, who spent 2 years disparaging casual supporters drawn to Clark's game. Those same viewers now highlight the conflicts of interest and stalled CBA negotiations, revealing how veteran leaders' priorities have often worked against the league's growth despite reasonable proposals from ownership.
Dude, nobody in here even cares. Nobody even in here cares. And I wouldn't be surprised if those people that came in just got handed free tickets. Wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. We got to make this look good. Is if you walk through the door, here's a free ticket.
The backlash intensifies daily as more fans recognize the real drivers behind these stalled negotiations. Comment sections erupt with supporters exposing how veteran players prioritize personal business ventures over genuine collective bargaining, seeing past the spectacle of inflatable rap protests and fiery rhetoric to the financial incentives shaping union decisions. Those same players who once criticized Caitlin Clark's growing fanbase now face scrutiny from those very supporters, who refuse to ignore the glaring conflicts of interest. Stewart and Collier cannot negotiate in good faith when their rival businesses profit from WNBA instability, representing players whose interests clash directly with their own financial gain. This creates a dynamic where union leaders effectively benefit if talks fail, allowing competing leagues to capitalize on the chaos. Clark's professional, strategic approach stands in stark contrast, building partnerships that strengthen the league while others cultivate ventures that weaken it. Her trajectory proves that talent, vision, and integrity elevate the sport, whereas self-serving opportunism erodes it from within.
Let's be for real here, right? Unrivaled is so sustainable that they can't even attract the best players, but they couldn't even retain the other players. They couldn't attract Asia, they couldn't attract Caitlyn, season 1, and they can't retain Angel, and they can't retain Sabrina, season 2, but it's sustainable. We're losing stars, but it's just, oh no. Sustainable. They play all their games out of the same location. They train in the same location. Overhead is clearly much smaller. Is she being serious?
Caitlin Clark's NBC deal proves that talent and professionalism always win over jealousy and theatrics. While some veteran players stage protests and push unrealistic demands, Clark steps onto national television alongside basketball legends, showing that excellence opens doors politics never can. The Fever Five embody everything fans love about women's basketball. Clark with her record-breaking skills, Lexi Hall delivering clutch moments, Aaliyah Boston dominating the paint, Kelsey Mitchell leading with experience, and Sophie Cunningham playing with pure heart. These athletes focus on the game itself, not off-court drama or stalled negotiations, giving fans a season to genuinely anticipate. With real basketball set to return in 2026, the spotlight is on talent, teamwork, and legacy. Are you ready for Clark's NBC debut? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a moment.